welcome, welcome, welcome to the Resilience Summit. We put this together because we know that these are unprecedented times, and a lot of us are dealing with challenges that we've never dealt with before, and we can use support. And so as positive psychology practitioners, we all got together and said, what can we do to help? We're all very passionate about serving and helping people and spreading love and light and positivity. And we've got all these tools that we've learned in our practices and that we share with our clients. And so we were really passionate about sharing them with a wider circle. And so we thank you all for joining us. And we hope that in the next hour of being with us, that we'll share some resources, tips, and tools that'll help you. And if you've got some to share with us, please use the chat. If we say something and you go, oh, I know about this, then put it in the chat. This is just a place for us to all support each other. So we're just going to get started with introductions and tell you a bit about us so you know who we are and why we're here. So let's start with Danny. Danny, our life coach and creative prodigy and professional. Please tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks. I'm really excited to talk to you all. I think there's a little bit of an echo. Is there? Maybe not. Okay. Part of the challenge of doing this online is, the technical obstacles. We just roll with it because we're resilient.
Yeah.
So I'm a life coach, typically for creative professionals. And I'm also an organizational development trainer. So going to companies and helping them grow using psychology-based tools, and work with clients on a number of different issues. But that's the short version. Who's next?
Great. Okay. Rebecca, our resiliency trainer, our health and wellness coach extraordinaire. Rebecca, if you could tell us a bit about yourself, and also I think you would be such a great person, since this is the Resilience Summit and you're a resilience trainer, to also tell us a bit about resilience and what that means and how it's important right now.
Well, thank you, Amber. Well, resilience in general is about the ability to remain positive and calm in the face of a storm and to bounce back better when we do have adversity. So resilience is something we want our children to have. As many of you know who are at home with children or have grandchildren, we have a lot of meltdowns going on when our processes change, because children love structure. And right now we're scrambling just to figure out that new way of structuring our children's lives and our own lives. So I'm also a wellness coach. My foundation is in sustainable practices in not only the earth, but also in well-being and creating sustainable ways of living so that we stay healthy and happy and energetic, and we can teach our children to do the same. That's my thing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rebecca. And we've got Anne-Marie, our organization guru and a coach extraordinaire. Anne-Marie, welcome, and please tell us a bit about yourself as well.
Thank you. I'm Anne-Marie Brogan. I am co-owner of an organization company called Organize Me of New York. And my partner Marie and I combine organizing strategies with the science of positive psychology. And so I am also a certified life coach and a certified resilience trainer as well, positive psychology based. So, and that's how I met all of these fabulous people here with me today. In terms of how to cope during quarantine, my role would be to kind of help you design your space and to create routines and to manage the space you have effectively so that you can navigate this transition that we've been thrust into so suddenly and without warning, without time to properly process it and prepare for it. So hoping to lend a little bit of that today.
Yeah, thank you, Anne-Marie. And so if I'm glad you made reference to that. If you guys didn't see already on the little landing page that we made for you, we have videos that we shared on different around 5-minute videos of tips and tools that we can share. Danny concentrated on being positive, beating negativity, and having a more positive mindset. I concentrated on creating your new normal. And as Anne-Marie mentioned, she concentrated on decluttering. And Rebecca gave us the resiliency of nature and how to what did you call it, Rebecca? You said it best. I loved your
Disruptions.
Disruption.
Yeah. Positive disruptions that trick your brain into shifting from old patterns so
Yeah.
that you can create new ways of managing stress and life.
Yeah, so we're going to go a bit more into that today. I'll tell you a bit about myself. My name is Amber Lee Forrester. I am the Flow Coach on social media, and also I focus on helping my clients to find their flow, build on their strengths, find what works best for them, and how they can be most productive and show up the way that they want to. I work with mostly women, but I also do work with kids in schools, and I'm building a program called Blooming with Intention that I'd love for you to learn more about on my website, and we'll talk more about how to find us later. So let's dig right in. We've got, and looking at the poll, we've got, we're learning a bit about you guys, and we see that 42% of you said that you're feeling this most in your body. 36% said you're feeling it in your home. 30% say you're feeling it in your work. 6% saying that you're having too much free time. 3% are saying that you're not having enough time. 42% of you are concerned about your loved ones. 3% of you are overwhelmed with having your kids home. And 27% of you answered that you're worried about your finances. So thank you for sharing that with us. And we're going to give some advice that hopefully helps and touches on all of those subjects in one way or the other. So the first question that I have to open us up is to all of the panelists. What advice, tools, or resources can you share with professionals and entrepreneurs who are working from home right now during quarantine? So Anne-Marie, we'll kick off with you. You focused on organization, and it sounds like such a great place to start. So let's kick off with you.
Yeah, there's so much here. You know, if you've never had to work from home before, it can be a real transition, whether it's because of quarantine or not. And right now, our home has to be several different things all at the same time. So it's not just our home. We're all being asked to stay home. We're talking about being home. But what is home? Home is our office. Home is our children's classroom. It's their after school program. It's the warehouse where we're storing all the stuff that we have to, you know, we're panic buying all the toilet paper and the food and all of that. It has to be our restaurant for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it has to be the place where we relax. And so when you transition to working at home, the lines get blurred as to what function you play at any given time in the space that you're in. And what I find is that some people, I'm very fortunate. I'm stuck at home, but I'm also stuck at home with multiple floors. I have my own designated office, as does my husband. My daughter's away at school. So we don't have some of the same challenges as a family of 4 or 5 who are in maybe a 1-floor apartment or a 1-floor house, or, you know, their dining room table now has to be their office and their classroom. You know, it's a very different challenge, right? You are the epitome of grace in this circumstance. So where organizing can come into play is in designating a place and a function, and then establishing a routine that keeps your mind kind of tricked into what mode you're in. So in terms of the space, you know, my video, if you got a chance to watch it, focused on decluttering and just the concept of decluttering, because you don't want distractions. And if you're, even where you face the work area, you know, if you're going to be distracted by the dirty dishes in the sink because your office is in the kitchen, you want to be mindful of that. If you want to cover your table with a tablecloth, use a solid print, a solid color, versus a print that might be busy. You want to clear your area of the stuff that you don't need and have the stuff that you do need, general office supplies, handy. And in terms of routine, you want to keep things as close to possible as to the way they were before, except maybe minus the commute. So what did you do? You woke up at a certain time. I would highly recommend taking a shower, getting dressed, doing your morning routine, because again, your body, you have these physical cues that you're used to in terms of getting ready. If you have to share the space with multiple people, or if you need quiet because you need to be on a call, you might want to make sure that you have noise canceling headphones, and that you maybe put up a sign saying, I'm working right now, I can't be interrupted. So those are just little initial tips to get started.
Oh, those are good. I'm good. I'm working right now. Please don't disrupt me is what I need right now in neon
Yes.
lights. Great. Thank you. Thank you. So Danny, how about you? You talked a lot about beating negativity and and you work a lot with creatives and professionals. Can you give us your tips for entrepreneurs working from home during this time? You're on mute, by the way.
Thank you. There's no magic bullet for any of this, and I think that what's important is to recognize what works for you. And so, I think that when any of us give advice, it's often just one particular perspective, and it's important to go, okay, this works for me and this doesn't work for me, and I'm going to take the things that do, particularly now when we're being bombarded with advice, with offers on the internet, this do this meditation app, or this business service or whatever, and it's really hard to filter a lot of stuff. And that ties into the video I made, and I think an important point is that we have choice, and we have to be cognizant of what we have control over, what we have choice to control. It's easy to get caught up in the things that we don't have control over, like the news and everything that's going out there. It doesn't mean that we can't have some impact in society, of course. We can only do what we can do. Our brain is wired to look at negativity much more, or to notice negativity much more than it is positivity. So when you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is look at the news, your brain, your body goes into apocalyptic mode, right? Everything, the sky is falling. And so the rest of your day is colored by that, because now you've produced chemicals in your body and a pattern of thinking that can become a story that you tell yourself throughout the day, and that's the world you're living in. And therefore, you feel like you have no control over your life. You don't have much choice. You don't have a lot you can do to work more efficiently. So if we're talking about entrepreneurship. And I've noticed here in the poll that, we only have 3% of people here saying that they're having a really hard time. So everyone else has maybe a lower level of like a more chronic type of anxiety. It's not like a high level freaking out panic. It's more like this tension underneath. And that can be really dangerous because the pain only comes in little pieces, and it's like death by 10,000 paper cuts kind of thing. And so if you recognize, so that bit about self-awareness is really important to say, okay, I have only control over a certain amount of things in my life. To Anne-Marie's point, that you can control your routine, you can control your space, you can control the things that you allow through the filter of noise on the internet. News is one good example. Knowing that, your brain is automatically going to jump to look at the negative. We have a negativity bias. We have a tendency to try to protect ourselves from all the dangers in the world. And that's a good thing. Your body's trying to protect you, and that's wonderful. But we're not actually being attacked by a saber-toothed tiger or anything that's going to kill us. So it's best to just recognize that.
It's one thing you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just saying that's one thing we don't have to worry about is the saber-toothed tiger of all the things that we do. We could worry about. And Danny, thank you for making that point. That's so important. It is it is necessary for us to surround ourselves with more positivity to balance out our negativity bias, our tendency to lean towards the negative. I think in your video, you said like that for every one negative thing, you need 5 positive things to keep you feeling more positive and in a more positive direction. So that's a good segue to Rebecca, because Rebecca is so very positive and she's a woman of nature. If you follow Rebecca, if you're a client of Rebecca's, you know that she posts these amazing videos of her out in nature by the water. And even when you did your video for this, the birds started chirping at the most divine time. And so, yes, and I know that these powerful meditations. And so, Rebecca, we'd love for you to chime in and give us your input on this as well.
Thank you, Amber. I had those trained birds going out in nature. The thing I actually want to kind of flip this a little in terms of getting you to be really curious and interested about what of your old life did you really love? You know, to really be thinking about the aspects of your old life before this all erupted that were super healing and meaningful to you and made you feel good about your family, your day, your work, your body, just the way you moved in the world. And if you begin to start writing this list down of like what was really good, what do I miss? And then get super curious about what wasn't really working that I didn't even think about because I was just in my robotic field of making life happen with kids, with work, with demands, and also with my own ideas of what I thought I had to do. And when you start untangling that and getting into, you know what, there was a lot of things that really weren't serving me. This is the beginning of you owning your new life and what you'll be doing later after we are not as fearful and living under a virus, but really, how do I really want my life to feel? Well, how do I want to feel every day? And then the answer for me was, I want to feel free. The answer for you may be something really different. So that's my thought, is to begin writing a list of what from your old life you really miss and what from your new life, what parts of it right now are really good. So go to that gratitude piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. That leads into my answer for this with that list. A list is a really great way of keeping yourself on track, a list of your goals and your intentions for your days, for your weeks, for your months. I mean, how many people wake up and you're like, wait, what day is this again? Because your routine is off. And so, you know, setting the intention for how you want to use this time and coming up with lists and then time blocking. And if you are busy, if you're like me, I have 2 kids at home, a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old. I have to say, okay, from 10 a.m. until noon, my daughter's working on her homeschool, and my son, I give him an iPad, and I say, with the iPad, I put his learning app on, and I've encouraged them, and I'm so happy with them because kids are naturally resilient. We can learn a lot from kids. They have learned to entertain themselves and to focus themselves during that time and allow me to actually have some time to work. And that has worked wonders. Another tip that I would give for professionals right now, you know, a lot of us who are concerned about our finances, focusing on the lack often brings more lack, but focusing on the wealth that we have brings more of that. And so tapping into your wealth of knowledge and looking at how can you serve people right now, like we're doing right now. We're serving you right now. We're doing this for free. This was an act of our heart, and it helps us as much as it helps you. It helps us in feeling like we have a purpose and that we're giving back during this time. And, you know, when this happened, we could all go, oh my God, and throw our hands up, or we can sit and be intentional and say, okay, how can I use this time best? And for you, that might look like relaxation and some self-care, and that's fine too. This may look like a less productive time, but I just encourage you all, and I encourage us to show up, to really show up in a way that we can look back on this time and be happy with the way that we've used it. So I hope that helps. So our next question, there's a lot of folks who are out of work right now or who've been laid off, and they have more time on their hands than they know what to do with. Some of us are like, we don't have enough time. Some of us are like, I got all this time because I'm not at work, and now what do I do? So I want to give us each a second to weigh in on that. Maybe some suggestions of how to use this time productively, or just how to stay sane and well using this time. I think it'd be helpful if we could all weigh in on that too. So whoever wants to go next with answering that question, just go ahead and give it a stab.
All right, I'll go first.
You go.
Did you want to go, Anne Marie? Okay.
No, it doesn't matter. We all have stuff to say. Go ahead.
So to me, we'll go with the flow.
We'll go with the
That's
flow.
right. The flow coach. Maybe with the flow coach to start. So, for me, yes, I totally have plenty to do. All of the children that I used to teach, now I'm teaching them through videotapes. And so I have a lot on my plate right now. But I really am focusing on what Amber was saying so eloquently, which is this self-care. Recognizing what I haven't given enough time to myself for, and noting that when I don't give enough time to myself, then I can't feed the emotional bodies of anybody else. So that might include getting more sleep. That might include actually waking up earlier and doing breath work and also meditation, so that I can connect to a new education if you're not used to that, or an ongoing practice digging in a little deeper. I think this time is asking us to go deeper, is to be more connected to people in more authentic ways. So I started writing letters, like old-fashioned letters. Don't lick the envelope, okay? Wet it with some cloth and use a real stamp and start connecting to people from the heart. So go deeper into yourself and who you want to be and how you want to emulate peace and love in the world. So that's my little tidbits.
That's great, Rebecca. Thank you. That meditation has been so key. If you are not someone who meditates and you're looking for meditation, it's a great way to replace your morning commute with meditation. So please go on the Calm app. YouTube has free, sorry, that's my son. YouTube has free guided meditations that you can find on all different types of subjects. So I'm going to mute and give it to Anne Marie to give your take on this as well.
Oh, so much to talk about. First of all, I could be a walking advertisement for the Calm app, any of you. Meditation is something that I never thought I could do because I said, my head is too active. I could never meditate. I'd be the worst meditator. And that was totally the opposite of reality. And what meditation just does, and why it's like a superpower right now, is that it brings you back into the present moment. So you're not ruminating about the past and you're not worried about the future, because there is so much that we could be, so our choice then is to train ourselves to come back to the present moment and what we do, because it's the only moment that we can control. So I'm down with the Calm app and meditating, because it's really getting me through this time too, and helping me to regulate my emotions and kind of stay the course. But in terms of organization and having this time that you didn't expect to have, sometimes it's just a shift in mindset. And a shift in language. The language we use is very important. So when you recognize this and you say, wow, this is not like a prison sentence, this is an opportunity. The word opportunity has a much more empowering feeling and a definitely more positive energy than when you feel like you are a victim in your own home or you're a prisoner in your own home. So what can you do with this opportunity? So if you are building a business, or you have to kind of transfer your business to online, you could do a lot of that back work that you don't have time to do normally. From a home standpoint, you could tackle all those projects that you wanted to do. You want to go through your closet and declutter and see if things spark joy or they don't, and get stuff out that no longer serves you. That's a wonderful opportunity. I just put up a post this past week about doing a tech tidy, because I have 4 million apps on my phone. I don't even know what half of them do. I don't know how they got there. I'm not using them. They're sucking up space on my phone. I have double contacts. I have even as an organizer, it's like organizers, they're just like us. We all have struggles. Even organizers struggle with organization. I have a Yahoo account that has about 10,000 emails in it. I don't need 10,000 emails, but I don't ever have the time to go through that because I'm prioritizing more important things. Now here's an opportunity to structure some time and say, let me kind of declutter that stuff. Learn a new skill. If you always said, I wish I had more time to cook. Now you do. And now we're forced to be home. It's like less time that you're going to spend, maybe getting takeout. You're going to want to cook some good meals. Now you can watch some of these shows and learn some new skills. So it's a great opportunity to do some of these things you never thought you'd have time to do. And it could serve you as well. Getting your files in order, getting your important papers in order. We know a lot of people that can't find their birth certificates or any of these things, or if God forbid they needed to go to the hospital, they don't have their, like your healthcare proxies and all your medical records. Get all of that in order. So there's a lot of choices that you can make in how to use that time, and it's very empowering because you're making the choice, you're taking the action.
Yeah, and that's such a great way to look at it from the perspective of the choice and from the more positive perspective. We had a question from Diane on the best way to get started in organizing home, office, and kitchen, and I think you just gave some great answers for that as well. And we can expand on that a bit later if we have more time. If you have anything specifically.
Absolutely.
Where you can answer about office and kitchen, especially if other folks are dealing with some of the same issues. So about that positivity and beating negativity and all the time that we have on our hands right now, Danny, can you weigh in on us? Give us some tips, give us some help from your perspective as well.
Sure. So it's easy to have a lot of shoulds in your mind at the moment. I should be, designing my new website. I should be super productive now that I'm at home. By the way, I'm really curious to hear what are your shoulds. So if you have some shoulds that you could share with us, you should put them in the chat box right now. Or please do if you're willing to share. I have some clients right now who are filled with shoulds. I should be advancing in my career, things that were happening, goals that were happening before all of this mayhem started, and sort of having these expectations, these shoulds, that it should be the same now, or even more, now I have all this time, so I should be spending 20 hours a day on this stuff. There's no excuse, so a lot of beating yourself up. But we know that's counterproductive, because when you get into that should mode, your brain is trying to rationalize with something that is not rationalizable. There's a reality right now that you have to confront and just be realistic about. So what's actually realistic right now, and just letting go of those shoulds. So one exercise you can do is to just get a sheet of paper, and I mean the old school sheet of paper, not the one on a screen, one of these bad boys, and to write down what are my shoulds, and make a list, and just keep going until you can't think of any more. What are your shoulds right now? And then once you kind of dump all of that onto some paper and you see for yourself all of the pressure you're putting on yourself, then you can kind of look at it a little more objectively and be conscious about the things that you're choosing to spend time on. And you'll have a lot more energy and a lot more opportunity, as Anne Marie said, as Rebecca said, to focus your energy in the ways that are going to serve you, in the ways that are going to serve other people. And you can translate that into, perhaps another column on that paper. So what are opportunities? Get rid of the shoulds, focus on opportunities.
The best way to should on yourself. Thank you, Danny. That's really great.
Some people just to read some of the, if I may for 1 second.
Yeah.
We have I should have more of a schedule. I should get outside more. I should definitely stick to a routine and a schedule. Ooh, okay, recurring theme there. I should finally finish unpacking the boxes in the basement. I should call my older relatives. My joy comes from continually reinventing myself. You should be reinventing yourself right now. So there can be a gap between the things that you want to do now that are realistic, that you can actually do, or that you feel compelled in a positive, internally motivated way, versus I have to, I should, there's some external pressure for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an opportunity. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a webinar, I think it was last week, and a real estate agent, there was a woman that joined us, and she had just become a real estate agent, and she had left her job, and she had gone through the couple months of training, and she goes, then all of this happened, and I found myself like freaking out. I left my job and now I have nothing to do because I'm a real estate agent and I can't show homes. And so I challenged her and I said, where do you envision yourself at this time next year? And so she started to say, I want to be one of the top agents in my area. And so to your point, Danny, I said, well, kind of like a list of shoulds. What are the things that you should be doing to get from where you are right now to where you envision yourself being in a year? And so when she started to answer and list all these things, I said, well, here you have all of this time and opportunity to start focusing on those things. And I think that's just such a great lesson for us in looking at, we don't know how long this thing is going to last. Let's call it 3 months. Let's call it 6 months. A really great way of breaking your goal down, of achieving a goal, is to break it down into smaller parts. And so if we're able to say, I have a goal of being here in the next year. And in the next 3 months, these are some things that I can do, and look at that 3-month period as the time to accomplish our goals, and then at the end give ourselves a reward to celebrate, then we find ourselves more motivated with more direction. It's like we have a guidance for us during this time. And so if you find yourself, once you take your time for self-care, once you feel like you're ready to get productive again, if you're finding yourself with a lot of time on your hands, envision what your future looks like and start working towards that. And that's just such a great way to fill the time. So we got some parents on with us. Let's see, our poll said that we don't have a lot of people who are struggling and overwhelmed with their kids at home, but we may have some who are looking for ways to entertain their kids or explain this to their kids or get their kids productive and doing more, maybe helping organizing around the house. That's what I've been doing with my kids for sure. I'm like, oh, now you know how to sweep. Okay, great, let's sweep. So so let's just talk to some of the folks with kids at home, or even if your spouse is your kid who's at home. Keeping our kids and the people in our house positive and productive and grounded during this time. What are some tips and tools and resources we can share with them? Let's start with Rebecca. Rebecca, you did you're disrupting and focusing the kids' attention on other things. I think was such a great tool. So can you expand on that a bit for us?
I do love the disruption. I say my mother would always say, you're the instigator in the family. So, but that I always looked at that as the kid who's the instigator is the one who has the creative ideas. When you're creative, you're always trying to play that out. I think for me, dealing with children in all kinds of schools, even children with a lot of trauma, my focus is trauma awareness. First and foremost, when I work with children and adults, the awareness that we are all negotiating something in our heads and hearts all the time. And with children, my mother always also said, little pitchers have big ears. And I want to start first by saying, let us be aware of how we are using our words as adults and how we are energetically reacting. So not only our behaviors, but what are we putting off? Energy wise, are we putting off this great hopefulness, this great, let's commit to deeper family moments? For me, my children are adults, but we have, with our whole extended family, started creating Friday nights are family trivia nights on Zoom. And it's hilarious. So we have created this great energy of humor, and we'll come in with costumes and really wild questions, and the family has fun. So that's something you can get your kids involved in to look forward to. So first, watch your energy and your words. Are you playing the news all the time? Are they connecting with this negativity and hearing how many people are at risk, and are they scared? Are we scared? That's the first thing. Number two, start to play creatively with them. Get their creative juices going and allow them to make up questions for trivia and plan family fun nights. And so those are my top two. And I know we have other people who have a lot to share, but thank you.
Those are really good. And Rebecca, we know you work magic with children. The work that you're doing in the schools right now is just incredible. And even my kids love you. Rebecca's been to our house and stayed with us, and my kids see her and they're like, hey! So you're like the kid whisperer. So thank you so much for those tips. I may be breaking up a bit, I'm sorry. But we're gonna bounce to Anne-Marie. Since you're unmuted, do you wanna weigh in on that? Some tips for kids?
Absolutely. Kind of similar to what I was talking about to the adults that have to transition from working from home. Now kids have to transition to going to school at home, where they don't usually associate that with anything other than maybe homework, but now having to get instruction. And what happens is, just like with adults, you know, we get depleted of energy. That affects our emotions. It affects how reactive we are. It affects our ability to concentrate about how to, you know, make decision-making, rational decisions and all of that. And a lot of times kids can get depleted very quickly and they can get distracted. So kind of setting them up to succeed by creating an area for them to learn. And then also maybe kind of establishing those same routines, like they're used to getting up and having a certain routine in the morning before going to school. So maintaining some of that and saying, like, giving them those cues that they are going to say, okay, now we're in school mode. And similar to the sign that I was talking about, maybe for saying, you know, I'm in a call, don't, you know, maybe you could have the sign that says school in session, and on the back, maybe it says recess. And maybe, you know, maybe with the kids, you know, who takes turns and turning the sign, school is in session, and kind of, and then, you know, structuring it so that they have enough breaks as well. The thing with school and why they do so well with school is that they know what to expect. The teachers are very, very adept at creating a routine, and they know what they need to do. They're expected to come in. They're supposed to put their stuff in their cubby or in their workstation or whatever it is. They, you know, they know what time that they're going to do this, and then they know that they're going to get out at a certain point. They know when they have to focus. When my daughter was in school, the principal or the teacher could hold up 2 fingers, and then all of a sudden they would all, it was an amazing physical primer that they knew. It was very powerful. And so kind of setting them up to succeed. And I just attended a webinar on productivity as well and handling quarantine. And one of the things they were suggesting, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Pomodoro technique of managing time, and it's well known in certain circles, where you do very focused work for about 25 minutes. You set a timer, and then you take a break for 5 minutes. And the person who was doing this webinar was great, and she was suggesting that whenever possible, if you can do that at the same time with your kids, everybody gets used to, okay, we're going to go and we're going to do our work, and then we're going to have our break time. And then making sure that they get out of their space to get out some of that energy on the breaks. So like leave their desk and change either to walk outside if you can do so safely and socially distanced, or just to go to another part of the apartment or your house to change it up a little bit. Keep them hydrated, you know, make sure that they're eating healthy. You can use organization to set up your place so that you have healthy snacks available. There's lots of different ways you can, but keeping that routine and that structure for them, it really supports them, because it gives them less to think about, and they don't have to waste energy trying to make all these decisions as to what to do with themselves, because the decisions are made for them in that regard.
Thank you for that, Anne-Marie. I'm breaking up just a bit. Can you guys still see me and hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I can see you
over here. All right. And Danny, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay. I don't know how it is for you guys. And Amber, I can see you and hear you kind of intermittently. Sometimes it pops in and out, but I think it's all good. So I don't have kids, so I'm not going to speak from my personal experience of, you know, what I've done. But I think that's appropriate, because nobody's kids are the same. No one person is the same. No one environment and situation is the same. And so what works for somebody else might not work for you.
Mhm.
So it's important, again, to recognize that there is a lot of advice, and some of it's going to work for you and some of it isn't. And that can go into all of the pressure of, now I have to set up the most amazing home school that has ever been, or I have to keep my kids occupied. This has to be such an important learning moment from that for them. For some people, that might come naturally and that might be appropriate, and for some people, it might not be, and that's okay. It's okay. You don't have to, you know, be the greatest teacher of all time if you've never done this before. That just wouldn't make much sense. Also, you know, when if you're in the airplane and the flight attendants do the whole spiel about putting on your oxygen mask when there's a crisis, the same is true right now. First, you have to put on your own oxygen mask. You know, you have to take care of yourself and make sure that you're in a good place to handle the chaos around you. Because if you're running out of oxygen, then you can't take care of the the other person, you know, the more helpless person. And in this case, you know, it's hopefully it's not oxygen, although, you know, of course, it can get very serious when it comes to health these days. But I think what I'm referring to more is self-care, you know, so the meditation and just the self-awareness and to giving yourself some time to relax and to sleep, because you have to sleep to wake up in the morning and not just jump right into the chaos, but to pause for a moment and recognize, all right, what do I need? So asking yourself, what do I need? And having somebody else that you can use as an accountability partner of some sort, whether it's a spouse or a friend or a parent or a coach, and somebody who can ask you, what do you need? So you can go, oh yeah, wait a second, what do I need right now? That isn't completely devoting to the other person, forgetting to put your oxygen mask on. So that's my thought for the moment.
Such great points. There's so much of what I was going to say you guys said so well that I'm not going to repeat it. I just shared a resource in the chat. I did another webinar earlier last week on, it's called Homework to Homeschool, and we interviewed two parents who are homeschooling and a productivity coach who helped us to figure out how to get work done and actually homeschool. So I put the link to that blog post and the video of the replay of that webinar in the chat. And so I'll just leave that there for anyone who wants to check it out and move us on along, right along. So we have a couple of comments. Linda says, setting boundaries with our spouses are important. Setting ground rules for this time is also a good idea.
That was my comment to her. I'm sorry. That was my comment to Linda. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, very great, but very, very great. Just to share that, is setting boundaries. And so, yeah, okay. So I'll leave some of the comments there. And if I miss any questions, I'll find them and come back to them. But we've got a few more minutes, and I just would like to open up for any more questions that are in the chat, and also just address that. I think one of the important questions that we wanted to answer was on the days where you're feeling more challenged than others. There are going to be some good days. There are going to be some bad days. I think, you know, Danny was just making a really good point about allowing yourself to feel the feels. And that is so important, having compassion for ourselves and not feeling the pressure of we need to have all the answers and be perfectly okay all the time. It's okay to not be okay. And so on those days, that we're not feeling okay, I think one of the most important things is to not get stuck in that. And so I want to invite us each to share a bit on how we don't get stuck in the negative emotions and how it is that we can deal with the most challenging days that we're having through this quarantine.
That's a challenging thing, because when we were learning about resilience and positive psychology, we were given the visual of a slide versus a sponge, because there's so many, you know, we're all going through this together, and so there is this kind of level of negative emotions that we're feeling, and we want to be able to take them in and acknowledge them for what they are, because people have this tendency to think that negative emotions are bad, and they're not bad. I mean, all those things that you're feeling, the worry, the anxiety, the helplessness, they're all valid emotions, and they're a very, very reasonable reaction to a very unprecedented situation. And so you hit the magic word, Amber, when you said compassion, and I would add self-compassion. To build on what Danny said, you cannot compare yourself to a teacher who has multiple degrees and years of experience, and think that in one day or in 1 week, you are going to have this enormous responsibility of making sure that your child gets educated. You're going to do the best you can in the moment with what you're given. And we're all going to be in it together, because we're all going through this together. But acknowledging that negative emotions are present, they're okay. And like Amber said, you don't want to get stuck in them. You want to be able to digest them and let them move through you. And again, so what my recommendation is, when I get into that place, besides the fact that I ramp up my self-care, meditation, prayer, dedicated prayer time, journaling, and physical activity. I'm very much into working out. That really sustains me. That's my base level. I remember to be other focused. When I take the attention off myself, it helps me not to worry as much, and it puts me in a position to serve. So like Amber said before, us doing this is helping us just as much as we hope that it is helping you, because it takes the focus off of ourselves. It raises those positive emotions, and raising your positive emotions raises your immune system. It strengthens your immune system. So that's another benefit. And it just brings us together as a community, because that sense of belonging is also a very big pillar of resilience. Feeling like we belong, feeling like that we contribute to the Hive collective, that is a very big part of this. And in isolation, that can be hard. So these are some things that you can rely upon in this time. Self-compassion, have self-compassion. We're all okay.
Yeah. Oh, in our positive psychology class, we used to snap. So we're going to snap for that.
Snap.
I hope you're snapping at home. I see, hi. I see Tina says that thank you, this is absolutely helping. We're so glad that this is helping. And Beth is snapping. Yes.
Oh, so glad.
We're snapping too.
That's
all right.
the snapper.
Danny, Rebecca, you guys want to weigh in? And I also want to pose something to you. It was a really good question that came through about how can negativity, how might negative emotions be good for you at the moment? So I just want to add that in there in case you want to address that while you're answering the question as well.
And Diane said something we're all struggling with. She wants advice. And just to check, Diane, maybe you can tell. So you're referring to how to work with negative emotions. Is that the question you're referring to? Just let us know. She says yes. Okay. So something I wanted to point out that hopefully isn't too nerdy, but the chemicals that we produce in our body when we have an emotion last about 90 seconds, depending on the chemical. So if you have somebody yells at you and you, I don't know, let's say you get angry. That's a 90-second window in which you have, let's call them anger chemicals in your body. And after that, if you still remain angry, those are thoughts and feelings that you are reproducing that have nothing to do with the original incident, unless it's an ongoing threat or whatever. If the saber-toothed tiger is still there, then it makes sense to keep producing new chemicals. But usually the threat shows up for just a second, and then the rest of your day is derailed. How does that work, right? If you recognize, first of all, it's just the recognition, which is crazy. If you just become aware of that being a thing, it's so much easier to handle it. Just to go, oh, there it is. My brain's doing that. It's repeating the same story over and over. Because then all of a sudden it's not unconscious. It's not something that you're not aware of and you can't do anything about. Now it's in front of you and you go, all right, now I have some choice. Now I can continue to be angry, or I can talk to somebody, or I can do some exercise or whatever. The other thing about that is that we as humans, for many, 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 many years, we're always moving our bodies. If you wanted to eat something, you had to do exercise in order to eat something. You have to climb the tree or go hunt the animal or forage or whatever. And nowadays, if we want to eat something, we, get the phone out and we dial something and they show up at your door and you're on your couch the whole time. And now that we're stuck indoors, even more so, it's hard to get exercise.
Mhm.
So if you have stress that happens, usually, in our human history, we would move, and that movement kind of eliminates the stress, right? You climb the tree, you get, some positive chemicals in your body and you feel better. But if you're stressed and then you sit on the couch and you think about it all the time, where does all that stress go? You have nothing to do about it. So something you can do is do some push-ups, do some squats, jump around, do some jumping jacks, just move your body, and that'll actually counteract the negative chemicals.
Have a dance party.
Have a dance party.
Have a dance party.
Have a day. I like
We're
that.
going to be doing that Saturday night. We've been doing Zoom. We're going to do a Zoom dance party tomorrow night. If anybody wants to.
That sounds fantastic. Anne-Marie, I know that can you guys hear me? Anne-Marie, I want
A little bit.
okay. Okay, I hope you can hear me. Anne-Marie, I wanted to
You're
invite
back.
Oh, good. Okay. I wanted to invite you to share, to your point of exercising, Danny. Anne-Marie has a wonderful Beachbody workout from home link that maybe she could share with us in the chat for anyone that's looking for a place to work out from home. There's a lot of trainers and folks offering online exercising opportunities right now. And so that's another thing we didn't really touch on, but that if you're interested, Anne-Marie, if you could please share that with us. So I just addressed Good. Just to address the working with negative emotion. So our emotions are our indicators of what's going on with us, right? And so if we're feeling a negative emotion and we have awareness around it, that's actually a good thing because it lets us know where to focus. And by these tools that we're offering, and we'd be happy to share more, and there's more that you'll find on our websites, which we're going to tell you just a bit about how to find us and find out more from us because we've got about 5 minutes left. But I just want to encourage us to recognize and accept when we feel a negative emotion. There's a saying that says unexpressed emotions never die. So by expressing or feeling that and recognizing that we're having a negative emotion, we give ourselves the opportunity, right? That we're back to that opportunity. That's the lens we're looking at it. We give ourselves the opportunity to address that and then to put our energy towards that. There's a website I'll share also in the chat. It's called To Be Magnetic. And she does, this woman, Lacey Phillips, does a lot of shadow work. And the shadow work is working with our inner child and doing, she has a lot of meditations that help to address those negative emotions and to work past them, because sweeping them under the rug just makes them fester. And so we don't want to do that. We want to look at the negative emotions as an opportunity and as like a laser focus of, okay, now I know where to focus in on. So with that said, we just got a few minutes left.
Can I say?
Yes,
can I answer? I just want to piggyback off this, what everyone said, and kind of bring it into a little container here. I like the idea of ceremony. I like the idea of rituals, things that bring you, that have a lot of sensory to them, whether they be sight, sound, smell. And so like burning sage helps me create a sensory that envelops the room and clears out negative energy. That is a big thing for me. Sound, like something like even these little chimes. Sound can bring in that also, or eating something that really makes me feel nourished. So all of those kind of rituals bring it with as many sensories as possible to me, lift you and out of old patterns and into potentially new ones. So thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. And Marie, did you want to say something, Anne-Marie?
Yes, I know we're running out of time, but one of the things that I was very, very happy to learn, because I didn't realize this, you know, like a lot of times when we're talking about, oh, somebody's in a panic and they say, oh, just breathe, just breathe. But there's a way to breathe that we actually have quite a bit of power over our nervous system. And if we can just remember one thing, because the science of it is, you know, a little involved, but just if your exhales are longer than your inhales, you're activating the part of your nervous system, your automatic nervous system, your autonomic nervous system that calms us down. So we have a very powerful tool. I mean, thank God, normally we don't have to remind ourselves to breathe every breath, or that we don't need our heart, we don't have to tell our heart to beat. You know, these things happen automatically, but sometimes we don't realize that we are the only species that has that control to consciously focus our breath and to calm ourselves down. And when we can learn to do breathing exercises, that becomes another tool in our resilience toolbox that we can draw upon any time. So if you were just to breathe in for 4 seconds or 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, and then exhale for 8 counts, that exhale is longer, or 2, 2, and 4, however you break it up, you're calming your body down. When you breathe in and when you do the opposite, you're actually revving your system up. You're revving your system up to be in fight or flight mode. And so I think we're not always told. We're told to breathe, but we're not told how to breathe. So if any of you want to, there's lots of videos and resources online. And I know that Rebecca could speak for like 2 hours just on that alone, on the importance of breathing and the power of breathing. So if you want to like look further into that, just, you know, Google some breathing exercises and learn how to control your own parasympathetic nervous system, for the science geeks out there. Parasympathetic. I'll type that in the chat. That was my little breathe.
Yes. Yes, I'm so glad that came up, the breathing, because that is so important. And that's I think Danny said what helps you to be mindful, and that breathing and the awareness of our breath and the control that we have over our nervous systems and our mood and all of the chemical reactions of what's going on in our body is so key for that. So I'm so glad that we were able to touch on that. Rebecca says that Max Strom is a breath expert who she's worked with has transformed her life and breath. So, you know, maybe because we just want to respect your time. It's 1:30 now. So, Rebecca, if we can start with you, you've got so many great resources to share that can go beyond this. Can you tell everyone here how to find you and anything else that you want to share before we close out?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram under Rebecca Reynolds Resiliency, on Facebook under Rebecca Reynolds Resiliency, and just Rebecca Reynolds Wallach, my married name. I want you to know also, I hope this is the time for it, I do a free meditation and breath work every Sunday on Zoom. And if you're interested, you can email me or call me, and I will send you the Zoom link and join us. It's a growing community. We just started doing it this way, and I'd be so honored to see you and have your good energy in the room. Thank you.
I will be there. Love it. Great. Danny, do you want to go ahead and tell us how to find you and share anything you like in closing?
Sure. My website is fullframecoaching.com, and I do free 30-minute sessions with anybody who wants. And it doesn't have to be creative, professional, or anything like that. All this positive psychology stuff can be applied to pretty much anyone. So if you want to talk to me for 30 minutes, no strings attached or anything like that, fullframecoaching.com. And thank you guys so much. Also, there was a question in the chat, in the Q&A. Will you email all the links in the chat? Just to point it out. Amber, maybe you can respond to that. Oh, you're muted.
Okay, sorry, I just typed yours in the chat. Unfortunately, I can't type and talk at the same time, so I'm gonna ask you guys to type your emails, your web addresses in the chat while I tell everyone where to find me, and I'll type mine in as well. So again, my name is Amber Lee Forrester. I am the Flow Coach on Instagram, Your Flow Coach on Facebook, and I am Quartz Wellness on Instagram and Facebook. That's QUARTZ. Like Quartz Wellness. yeah, so you can find me there. And also I'll put my website in the chat. It's quartzwellnesscollective.com. And I do a free masterclass monthly on how to change your habits, how to replace bad habits with good habits. I have one coming up on April 20th. And I've been doing tons of free webinars. You can go to our live events on the website and see what we have coming up. One that I have coming up next Wednesday, we're doing leadership during crisis. I do a weekly Wednesday webinar and lunch and learn that's free. It's with an executive coach, Michelle Brown. Next week, we'll be talking to executives and managers and leaders of teams on how to lead their team through this crisis at work. So if you're interested, please sign up and join us there. So thank you guys all for your time. This has been incredible. We've seen so many comments in the chat that this has been very helpful, and that just means so much to us. Yes, so thank you all, and thank all of the four of us just for sticking through and bringing this to life. You know, we are humans, and we have.
Can I say goodbye?
To be human. Oh my God! Oh my God, Anne-Marie, I'm so sorry. You didn't get. Yes. Please. I'll just say, and then you close us out. I'll just let everyone know that this will be available by email. We got that. For the replay will be available to share. So we got that question a lot in the chat. So I just want to say that, and I'm actually going to give it to you, Anne-Marie, to close us out. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. No.
I want to stay connected with everybody. My website is www.organizemeny.com. We're Organize Me of NY LLC on Facebook and Instagram. It's at Organize Me NY. You could type that in any platform and we'll come up. We just started offering virtual organizing for people. Obviously, we can't get to their homes and their offices to support them. So we've started to offer virtual organizing. We have also, very excited to announce, written a book, which this COVID-19 has delayed the printing of a little bit, but the online version is releasing on April 28th. It's called Beyond Tidy, Declutter Your Mind and Discover the Magic of Organized Living. And it merges our 8 top organizing principles with the science of positive psychology. We're really excited about it. We can't wait to bring that to you. I also do personal life coaching and resilience training, and I can be reached there through annemariebrogan.com. So I look forward to connecting. Please reach out to us. We're so happy to continue this conversation after this, and we hope to do more of these for you. So let us know what you want to hear more on.
Nice.
So thank you.
And thank you, Amber.
Thank you, Amber.
All right. With that, everyone have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Gratitude.
Bye, friends.
Bye.
Be well.
Be well.